everybody. This episode is called ID Your Finds. I've got a display case here of finds, and I'm going to basically just go through this display case and ID everything here that you see. So get a good look at things and see if there's some things that perhaps you've dug. I'm going to pan you slowly through. There's a lot of finds in here. I call this site Nickel Field because it's got a ton of nickels. There's been some incredible finds come out of this field. And I'm just going to pan you through here. There may be some things that you see that you recognize that you've dug before. And I'm just going to kind of set that up for you by IDing everything after I show you around, basically. But I feel like this would be probably useful for some folks who want to know what they've actually dug. So I'm going to start up here in the upper left. We've got parasol runners and top notches. I'm going to differentiate those in my book, so I'm not going to go into it here as to which is which. And these types of locks, this is this little brass lock. These are the ones that came along after what's called the Mickey Mouse style lock that you find in kind of colonial era sites. So those are newer, but not new, but they're like pre-Civil War. Got some clay pipe stems and some newer pipes. So the clay pipe stems I generally associate with the colonial era up to pre-Civil War days, and I associate these kind of with later on Civil War era going past into Reconstruction and late 1800s. But I'm sure there's overlap between the two. Got a whole grouping of nickels since it was Nickel Field. These are all got buffaloes and V's there. Got some Spencer shell casings here from the Civil War, broken knapsack hook. You can always tell that this is a knapsack hook, even without the button on the top because of the that little divot there on the end. So that's definitely from a Civil War knapsack. And even if they're bent up, you can still tell what they are. Got some button backs. This little piece of lead here was definitely a flint wrapper, a lead flint wrapper from a pistol flint. Flintlock pistol. Got a broken butt plate here. This kind of a raking spur here with these with this sideways rowel. These are all pieces of the same spur. This is why I organized by site. This piece, that piece, that piece, and that piece are all from the same fancy style spur. And I may never get all of it, but I can definitely piece most of it back together eventually. That's all 1 year worth of hunting. So. Normally these types of pieces are doorknobs, but the spindle side here should be square instead of round. So I'm going to call that a drawer knob instead of a doorknob. This piece really, I've seen this in a relic, in a mail order catalog, and I'm just not able to think of it. This mustache looking piece, oh man. I can't think of that right now. I'm pretty sure this is one of the internals of a rim lock. This is part of a pewter keyhole escutcheon type piece with a oval. I've got a couple of complete ones of those. I'm still trying to figure out what those are. This is all a work in progress. You gotta just figure it out as you go. Toe taps, shoe tips, I think they were typically called. Then we've got one of these cranks for a tape measure. The tape would have wound around this spindle, the tape measure, and a leather body, and this folded up. The hinges rusted, but that folded up to become probably was marked with the number of feet, 25 feet or 50 feet or something, and that would fold out and become the crank, and you could crank the thing back in after you did your measuring. Pewter spoon pieces, other pieces, flat buttons, of course. Thumb wheels from kerosene lanterns. Okay, we're going to go back around up through here. Papal medallion, a religious medallion, Pope Pius IX. Completely worn smooth coin. I think I ID'd that as a seated, but it was just barely hanging on for any sort of detail. This is really rare find, actually a hold barber. Normally it seems like the hold coins are earlier. They're usually almost always pre-Civil War. And of course the Morgan dollar that I eyeballed laying on top of the ground. Ronicky Dellering Company was a company that was in New Orleans in the 1830s. A tailor, an importer of fine garments. This is a luggage tag, and so they sold these out of mail order catalogs. The original patent for these is available online. You can find that. They were stamped much in the same way that an ID disc would be stamped. They are not an ID tag. They are a luggage tag from roughly the same time period. So not a Civil War find, just a mid-1800s find. And we've got some glass buttons here and a jewel and a got a percha or a hard rubber button rather. This is kind of interesting. This is an A.J. Tower and Company. Most of these are made out of zinc for these rain slickers, but this is a rare earlier one that's made out of brass composition. These are top knots from tobacco tins, but they're also, you can find them, ribbed finials is what they're called, and they're also were on pewter lidded jugs of the mid-1800s. It's got some keyhole drops. These are also keyhole drops over here. Keyhole dust covers. There's some weird shapes for them, so don't be confused. These thread escutcheons here that went into and set in the wood like a keyhole, bone button, and some keyhole escutcheons. And of course a pocket watch frame and some top winders. So these winding crowns, they didn't exist. In the early watches, you would have to insert a key, a winding key, and the winder would wind the watch and it would set the hands. And so these types that had the winders on top are later. I've got a pair of buttons here, little interesting trouser buttons, I guess. Cufflinks and a button cover there. I've got some shield nickels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, H9 shield nickels from Nickelfield. That is an earring. Got a crucifix here with Jesus still attached. I've got you notice that it is solder filled. That's a rosette, part of the iron attachments coming through the front from rust. Silver thimble. These were cufflinks, these open work things. Sometimes they had rhinestones in them. Thimble, these are from folding boxwood rulers. And of course, we got more thumb wheels from lanterns and so forth. I think these, I don't remember what these were. I can't remember right off. Hot comb. We have these saw nuts, basically. If you see a saw nut that has any sort of beveling, see how that's beveled so that it lays flush in a hole in the wood. Anytime you see that beveling or a squared off nut, then you know that that's a saw medallion, even if it's not marked in some way, but this one is marked. Warranted Superior is a very common mark. This Conaway mark is pretty rare. That's 1830s Philadelphia saw maker there. Got some various pieces of suspenders, including one that says World's Beauty. These were ladies' buckles, probably would have had that orientation. They were either shield-shaped or rectangular and made out of thick stamped brass that was very thickly gilded. And you can see just a little bit of the gilding left there. That's a broken example. Pocket knife bolsters here, more cufflinks, suspender buckles here, lots of these Guillot style ones, and of course these corset busk clasps. Then we've got some various types of military buttons. There's a broken Great Seal, and this is actually the earliest Great Seal style of button. Notice that there's no lined background. That's a very early 1900s, right after they adopted the Great Seal. These things with these diamonds with a hole actually are related to coffins. I'm almost certain they are listed that way in several different resources that I've seen. And so I think that those are coffin related, kind of creepy. Some modern coins, a heel plate here, some shirt studs and so forth. So that kind of shows you a lot of what's here, in this display case. I just wanted to show you all of that and give you a couple of finds IDs here. Let me move on to another display case and I'll show you a little more. Okay folks, here's another display case from the same site. Just wanted to show you these items as well and ID some of these things also for you. Aluminum thimble, that's a thumb plate from an early musket. A lead bar piece, I've forgotten what that is. At any rate, this is of course from a platform scale. Probably the rest of that arm is there, that brass arm. I've got a spout that's probably from a jug. It doesn't have that notch like a teapot spout, so it's probably from some sort of industrial jug. Eagle or infantry bugle mouthpiece. I think that's a piece from a rim lock, internals from a rim lock. We've got various suspender clip pieces and a piece from an oil container, I'm pretty sure. I found several of these buckles that have a little jog in the buckle. I do not remember what they are from. I may have run across it at some point, but if you know definitively and you can provide any sort of documentation, please let me know. Would love to know what those weird buckles are with the little jog in the center. And with some clay pipes, we've got a clock winding key, some silverware pieces, the typical stuff like I've ID'd before. I'm going to kind of go through and find stuff that's unusual or that I haven't ID'd in the last little segment. That's a piece that Tomback looking, it's bell metal. That's a piece from probably a call bell system. This is a suspender buckle patent. Some lead knuckles. So you're going to find homemade lead knuckles various places. You can see that has the design of an 8 reals. That is a cast lead 8 reals, counterfeit 8 reals. You can see the rays from the cap and raise style on that piece. Pretty neat. It's got the eagle perched on a prickly pear. These are pocket watch. Both of those. They look like rosettes, but they're not filled. A lock, some spur pieces. These are kind of thin civilian spurs. These are vertical strap boxes. A lot of people don't know what these things are, but those are vertical strap boxes the bootstraps went down into instead of looping through. So those are spur pieces, so don't throw them away if you've got them. And I haven't seen if any of these go to any of these, but I'll try to fit them back on there and see. Got these thin finger loops from tin-bodied kerosene lamps. Got various buttons, tack buttons. Here's a piece of either a sword chain or a curb bit chain or some sort of other thing there. Of course, got a lot of coins in the middle and so forth. Which is pretty typical. These are cufflinks. You can tell that swivel design, where it's made as a two-piece button basically with a swiveling, instead of a swiveling shank, it's made with a swiveling post. This classic cufflink, late Victorian cufflink. That's like a little bar brooch, busted out ring that would have had a stone right there. This is a twin heart ring. I've got a whole section in my book about these and the date range on those. This little piece of almost look like junk, but that is actually a half dime. Pretty wild. Very, very roached out. This is a 4 real that's half cut. It's almost worn smooth, but anyhow, just wanted to show these. This is probably a fob seal that would have held a stone down here, or a piece of chatelaine. So just want to show those. Organ reed, of course, probably has a pitch name right here. What does it say? F. So that's an F. And yeah, great. All right, so there's some finds IDs for you. Hope you all have a good day, and definitely like, subscribe, because I'll be doing more content like this as I go. And yeah, talk to you all later.